All cats old enough to run through the moor gather for a clan meeting, he yelled to his clan. Tumble continued, with the tragic loss of our old deputy Dimgaze, who was poisoned by our old medicine cat, I will be appointing a new deputy. Half step, Tumble had called out to the warrior below. Will you follow the warrior code and aid us as WindClan's new deputy? Yes, he said, walking up to the rock, grateful to be chosen for this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Then take your place next to me on the tall rock as WindClan's new deputy. As the cheers died down, Tumble continued his meeting. Melrosechirp's medicine apprentice ran off after the incident. Because of this, WindClan has no medicine cat. I will go to Mothermouth and seek StarClan's wisdom on appointing a new medicine cat. Meeting dismissed. Tumble concluded the meeting before preparing his trip to Mothermouth.
Melrose stared out into WindClan's moor. Something stirred within them as they sat in silence. They eventually jumped down, padding into the barn on swift paws. Where have you been? He questioned with a flick of his tail. Just thinking. They give a friendly nod to Scotland before positioning on a tall structure within the barn. They looked at the gathered cats. It has been 12 moons since I have come here and helped you chase out the group of cats that had been inhibiting the barn. During that time, we have gathered the strongest and most capable cats the forest has ever seen. Cats too good for clan life. Their tails swept over the grain bag that they sat on. We have grown tired of living in the shadows, eating scrawny mice and foraging for food. Soon we will strike. WindClan will be ours for the taking, but there's a lot we have to do first. When the patrols are sent to guard this border, we fight. Ward them off until they refuse to return. We will keep pushing the border further into their land until they have no choice but to leave. They sank their claws into the weird fabric beneath them. So we're kicking out the WindClanners? Caddy tilted their head. Exactly. Melrose looked over at Caddy. Scotland, I trust you've done what I asked? He nodded, stepping over to the hay pile and laying down his satchel. The satchel was full of the herb that they'd requested. They hopped down, wedging the foxglove seeds between their paw pads. Now, we wait for the first patrol. Stand guard. Melrose nodded to the gathered cats to informally dismiss them. They lifted the bag and placed it between the 2 pecks of grain, before padding out of the barn. Melrose watched their cats get into place, waiting to ambush. Melrose scraped their claws against the wooden pallet they were sitting on, calculating in their head. Melrose eventually stood, heading over to the cats once they'd formed a plan. Melrose scanned the moor, waiting for any sign of movement. When the patrol approaches, wait for my call. They looked over at the cats. Charge them when I say. Don't give them time to run. They're coming, Melrose warned. Wait for my signal. Rush them, now! They yowled. Melrose watched the cats fight on their behalf. This was too easy. Melrose turned around, looking at the one that had strayed further. Hold them down. Melrose, she hissed. Melrosechirp looked over at Shadow and Pepper. Hold them down, they repeated. Melrose? Her voice cracked. Their claws at their throat, they looked to Melrose. This is their plan, their call. Melrose slipped a foxglove seed from their paw into Ivy Blank's maw. To send a message, they muttered. Let the other one go to tell the story, Melrose sneered. She struggled, trying to spit it out. Hold her maw. The poison will do its job. Shadow moves away from the cat-seizing body, stepping to Melrose's side for the next order. Let that one go, they repeated. She'd struggle, shaking violently before laying still. Let her tell Tumble what we've done. How many? Melrose stepped in, glancing around at the red-stained grass. Many enough to send a message, they responded. Melrose nodded. Rogues, return to the barn before more cats arrive. Retreat, they repeated. Good. Melrose's tail flicked. Get some rest now. Melrose sat, cleaning their fur, careful not to dislodge any more of the foxglove seeds.
Tumblestar, her voice lowered slightly. We were ambushed. They killed Ivy Blank. Tumble stared at Ghost, hiding fear. Ambushed? He thought for a moment, questions flooding his head. How many were killed? I strayed away from the patrol. I only saw one that died. Ivy Blank, poisoned, she sputtered quickly. They were poisoned. Tumble thought to himself, knowing only one cat who would poison as a main method of killing. Is anyone back from the patrols? Where did this happen? Tumble spoke quickly, slight panic in his tone. As of now, I'm not sure. I'll show you where it happened, though. He shook his head, finally clicking in his brain. They're using the two-leg barn as a camp. I didn't see you get attacked by the rogues, and you didn't even fight them. Enough. Tumble stood between the two warriors. It does not matter at this point. Arguing will not bring back the dead. Tumble stared at Withered Frost and Ghost. We must not resort to fighting each other. We need to work together. Melrose is back.
Melrose watched the sun fall, an ambitious glint in their eyes as they searched for a nest. Melrose settled in a spot where they could watch the entrance, but closed their eyes occasionally to get some rest. Melrose stirred as the cats exited the barn. They hopped down, leaping back up next to Scotland. Come morning, we will be hunting rabbits in WindClan territory. You're quite the fast thinker, Melrose. Is this your plan? To get more into WindClan territory? He asked, sitting up to groom his pelt. Exactly that. Melrose turned to look out of the barn door. They'll get scared each time we push them back. He lowered his paw, letting out a chuckle. Then what? What would be the next step? Taking over the camp? He asked a lot of questions, all with simply teasing. You know exactly what I want. Melrose let out a half-purr, half-chuckle. Whatever drives Tumblestar away. If it means attacking the camp, so be it. WindClan sealed its fate when they accused us of killing a cat found on our border. She was riddled with ThunderClan scent, but it was easier to blame me. They deserve this. We can start hunting now. Melrose lifted their chin as the sun entered the barn. We can hunt on the outskirts of WindClan, near the fence, their tail flicked. Melrose watched the cats hunt, happy to see them hunt something other than mice. Sylvia lifted her rabbit up high in pride with a smug smile on her face. This territory is fresh with prey, she mewed. Indeed, Melrose nodded. We should return to the barn now, before some cat starts trouble. Melrose nodded toward the barn, leaving. Come with me. Melrose looked over at Scotland for a moment before padding away. This is the gorge. You've probably seen it from a distance. They looked down at the rushing water. I have. He looked over at Melrose, wondering why he was brought here. This is the next border I want to push them away from. Or over, rather. They lifted a paw. Gather the rogues and have them camp out in this tunnel, Melrose instructed. The tunnel that leads down to here. He nodded, walking off to the barn. Hide in this tunnel. We're waiting for the dusk patrol. Melrose hopped up to the top of the tunnel to keep watch. Melrose stared at the patrol, waiting for them to approach. Melrose seemed to be alone. Would they attack? Melrose's attention shifted to the half-pelted Tom leading them. That must be the deputy, they thought. Rogues, now! They yowled as the patrol paused. Melrose trotted up to the deputy, barreling into him and towering over him. He tried to kick his back paws to try and get Melrose off, but it was no use. Melrose rode up and shoved the previously collected wolfsbane into his maw. They stepped off the deputy, yowling, herd them towards the gorge.
Rogues! Rogues have attacked the patrol. Where was the attack? Follow me!
Herd them towards the gorge, corner them. Shove them in, Melrose snarled.
Tumble watched his clan get shoved into the gorge before jumping in to try and save his clan.
Melrose let out a squeak as they saw Tumble leap over. More will be coming. Go back to the barn. Melrose paused, panting. Surely Tumblestar wouldn't survive a fall like that. Surely that wasn't their excuse of a leader, right? She meowed. Must have been, Melrose added. Mellowbear turned and padded into the barn, the sight of Tumblestar burning in their mind.
He stared at Half-Step's body. Tumble thought to himself, first Dimgaze died, and now it was Half-Step. I can't choose another deputy. Melrose will go after them, he announced weakly. Tumble, you need to. You're on your last life. Melrose is coming for you, most likely next. Grab Half-Step's body and return to camp.
Melrosechirp rested their head. WindClan would be in too much chaos to attack them now, so they could sleep. Melrose, he called out the feline's name. Scotland? I believe I have something that might interest you, he purred, flicking his tail as he trotted outside. What is this? They squinted at the cat. This is WindClan's medicine cat. How do you know? They looked over at the Grey Tom, then back to the so-called medicine cat. Duskvine knew better than to speak. He was surrounded entirely and had no way to escape. These were the cats that had been slaughtering his clanmates. Only StarClan could help him now. He simply stared at the cat in front of him. I caught him gathering herbs, thought it would be the best idea to bring him over to you. They stepped forward, tilting their head. What's your name? He felt like a frog set in the back of his throat until he swallowed hard. Duskvine, he replied, simply, straight to the point. There was no point in trying to act tough. Melrose seemed to chuckle. This is who they replaced me with? They looked at the surrounding cats, trying to find any hint of humor in their gaze. You must have been made a medicine cat in a panic after my exile. They eyed the Tom. You didn't choose this. You understand. He didn't feel like he had a turn to speak, so he didn't. I'd gain nothing from keeping you, but it helps to know what kind of medicine cat we're fighting against. Let him go. They turned away dismissively. You killed my friend, he mumbled. His ears picked up. What? I brought him here for you. I killed nobody, Melrose snarled. This is a consequence. Get out. They turned back around again. Scotland, thank you for this, but there's nothing here to gain. Melrose cleaned their pelt again. The foxglove seed sat uncomfortably between their paw pads, but it was a lifeline, an emergency way to get out of a fight. They hopped down, petting over to the black and gray cat. Let's go on a walk, they offered. WindClan is so shattered. I doubt they're anywhere other than their camp. Scotland stared at the feline, disappointed about the earlier event, but agreed. Things are going well, Melrose hummed, sitting confidently deep into WindClan's territory. He felt the sunlight fall onto his dark-colored pelt. Why did you bring me out here? Is this only to speak about WindClan once again? He asked. Just to get time away from the rogues. They lifted their head. They're savage. Melrose considered themselves better than that. And we're not. We have a purpose. They don't know it, but I have a motive beyond a better hunting land for them. I couldn't care less about what they get out of this. He nodded. He knew what Melrose would say. I understand that, but still, that seems to be our only main objective. He seemed annoyed. Things will get better, they promised. Melrose shifted, standing. I hope you're right. Or maybe not. They backed up, pressing against Scotland's side defensively. Melrose, she spat. They were outnumbered, yes! He unsheathed his claws, hissing at the WindClan warriors. She took a step forward. You have guts, you know, being this far into our territory, with one other cat. You know they'll kill you if you lay a claw on me, Melrose snarled. Scotland stood quiet. He was not a speaker. He spoke with his claws, not with his mouth. But you'll still be gone. I wouldn't care if I die in the process if it meant ridding the clans of you. Attack! He lunged forward, clawing at Melrose's face, at least trying to. Vulture lunged at the Tom beside Melrose as he pinned him down. Melrose let out a screech, rearing up and blindly clawing at Oak Forest. Using his weight, he pinned them down, raking his claws along his belly. He slammed his paws down to the cat, trying to pin them to their side. He hissed as their claws went into his pelt, before latching his teeth down into the cat's neck. Melrose slipped, terrified of falling off the edge. They sank their claws into the stone, trying to see Scotland in the mess. Oakforce remembered a trick his mentor told him, and swiftly hit his tail into the cat's eyes, blinding them, giving his time for another attack. He let out a hiss, using his hind legs to kick the cat off the cliff, still having to worry about Dawnblaze, using his claws to scratch at the she-cat. He grabbed the cat's scruff with his maw, pulling them over to the edge. She stood between them, fur bristling. You foxheart! She landed a blow on the cat before turning just in time to see her clanmate fly off the cliff. She turned to Scotland, lunging on them. Melrose! He yelled before being pushed away. Melrose let out a horrible snarling sound, clawing furiously at Oak Forest, all strength going towards keeping them on the rock. She stood over the Tom, her words icy. You, and everyone you know, will pay for the lives you've cost. Oak Forest looked at the cat with anger. There's a reason WindClan sleeps under the stars, he hissed as he got clawed, but he knew he had to stay strong, and put his maw to the cat's pelt, dragging them further off. She then lunged forward, biting down on his throat. His ears pinned, distracted by Melrose screaming, not worried about the two cats near him, before hissing out in pain. Melrose heard a sickening sound from Scotland as fangs sank into his throat. They pushed away from Oak, falling and slamming down onto the ground harshly. You crazy, mouse-brained, fox-smelling cat, he hissed. They struggled to stand, pain surging through their body. They let out a defensive, wild hiss at Oak before sprinting away. They paused, seeing the three cats hovering over the cat's body. There was no movement. Scotland. They looked down, blinded by rage as they bolted off. Hey, wait, where's... They patted in, noting Melrose's return. They killed him! Melrose snarled out. We were attacked by 3 cats. They separated me from him. They killed him! They repeated frantically. Oh, Melrose, I'm so sorry. He tried to comfort them, but the look in their eyes kept him from moving. We attack WindClan at sunrise. We are chasing them out for good. For Scotland. For us. If that's what you want, we're with you. For the rogues, he repeated in a yowl. For the rogues, they agreed. For Scotland! Get some sleep, they said with a breathy, weak voice. A new kind of feeling for Melrose. Melrose lay in the nest. It was cold and they were alone. Melrose didn't sleep much. They longed to feel Scotland next to them, but Starkland was no more. Starkland never was for Melrose. Scotland was gone. Melrose stood, finally seeing the sunlight. Today is the day we took over WindClan. Melrose was still shaky, but seemed stronger. Slip, Melrose called out. Assign some cats to watch over the barn. Tell them to guard the kit with their lives if it comes to it. Their tail flicked. Now, come with me. Perfect. They're all gathered. Slip in through both entrances. Leave Tumblestar to me. Go! Melrose watched the once peaceful clearing break out into chaos. Melrose watched silently. Finally, this is what they wanted. Melrose continued to pat around. They were winning.
Melrose! He shouted out.
Tumblestar, they snarled. Melrose darted forward, slamming an unsheathed paw into Tumble's chest, fueled by fury, taking him down and holding him there.
Tumble screamed. Is it really a victory if you need the help of so many rogues? Focusing on me, my cats will kill your rogues before you're done.
Melrose snarled. I may have stooped as low as befriending outsiders to take you down, but nothing I've ever done will equate to the filth you've become. As long as I kill you, my job will be done. Melrose ignored the protests around them. You will die as the rest of your clanmates have. Slow and aware. They slipped the seeds from their paw, the rest of what they had, and shoved it into his maw.
Tumble got to his feet, unable to cough up the seeds. His vision began to blur and his throat started to close. In his final moments, he swiped blindly at Melrose with unsheathed claws, until finally, he caught fur. In blurry vision, he saw Melrose start slowly getting covered in their own blood. WindClan will survive without me. I know they will, he rasped before collapsing, the world around him darkening as he finally fell cold.
Melrose let out a gasp, followed by a spitting sound as Tumble landed a blow on their neck. They pushed themselves back up and stumbled backwards, regaining their footing just long enough to see Tumblestar fall. Melrose turned to the rogues, stumbling. Help me, they stammered. You, I practically snarled, taking a bold step forward, chest heavy with fury and a hint of betrayal. You led us into this battle for petty revenge. You made us believe that you desired the best for us, the best for the cats who were turned away. Melrose tried to swallow, but it escaped them. They continued to choke. Jagan, please. You only saw us as weapons, I yowl, tail now lashing. Why should we help you now, Melrose? I narrow my eyes, watching the cat cower into a crouch. Melrose stared at the ground. No. No! They hissed. Even in victory, there was a cost. None of us will ever lift a paw for you again. You manipulated us, and we will never forgive you for that. Melrose slipped, hitting the ground hard as their vision faded. The last thing they saw was the anger in the cat's eyes, both the rogues and the WindClan cats they'd used as puppets. Yippee! Oh my god! Is this the Melrose is over party?